Hi there, how you going? Welcome to the February edition of the Simic report. Geez, I tell you what, the January edition, it definitely sparked some interest, some inquiries, and we must have had the most dialed number in Australia for the month of January, I tell you what. So, and that's coming back to the discussion that we had in regards to the proposed rental reforms. So, I think fundamentally what it demonstrated was what I personally believe, and I know you back this opinion, the failure of the Queensland Government to broadcast this to investors in the marketplace. I mean, ultimately, we find that there is some responsibility from us to be able to say that this is what's going on in the marketplace, but ultimately the buck stops with the Queensland Government. What became very apparent was quite a lot of our landlords were not aware of any of this going on. So just to answer some very quick questions, and it is still going through the process, through the absolute barrage of phone calls that we received, I can tell you those reforms, they're not in place. That hasn't passed through legislation. So these are the ones that have been proposed. It still needs to go through and put forward as a bill to the Queensland Parliament and pass that before they start implementing any changes, if any. And that process could take a matter of months, if not years, potentially. So that I don't foresee any of those changes happening this side of Christmas. I could be wrong. They may pass legislation, but when it actually comes into effect, it may affect me into the new year, but we'll see how we go. But we'll keep you posted irrespective. So into the February edition, we're going to dive straight into property management. What's happening in your world?
Well, Dennis, not only has the phone been ringing on what you just spoke about, but also tenant inquiries on properties that we've got up for rent as well. So we've got some staggering facts, I guess. Number of total tenant inquiries we've had over the last 30 days has been 1,750. So I've worked that out. Basically, there's been approximately 58 per day, and that's a 7-day working week as well on those figures. So on average, if we break that down even further, say 8 hours per day, we're getting a seven or eight
inquiries every day for every hour of the work, not working week, but 7-day week.
7-day week.
And that's a reflection of the market that we've spoken about, that is widely known that the January, halfway through February, is the peak rental season. I think it's also a reflection that you can be working in a good market, a seasonally high market, but it's also a reflection of a good quality marketing campaign that's applied to a good market, which is what we've spoken about many times.
Correct. And it's making sure, obviously, that the way we market our properties are marketed, reflecting to the actual market as well as at the time of the seasons as well, which is really important.
So such as the property's got a pool, represent the pool. If you don't want to demonstrate pools in winter months.
No, exactly.
Like that. So use the hero shots, get them up there, but just the quality of the marketing, being photography, the script writing, the availability to inspect the properties, and all the other tools and technologies that we use within the business to source tenants for our properties at a quicker time frame. What are the other stats?
So other stats we've got as well is the number of applications we've received as well. On average, there's been approximately 10 per property, which has been really good. It's obviously some more than others, but it's just making sure that obviously they're being processed properly, getting the correct information from tenants and other agencies as well.
And that's generally been the biggest slow up, isn't it?
It is.
We're finding majority of our applications are not provided in full. That tends to slow the process down. So that's a reflection of, I think, tenant education more than anything. We're going to look at that through the year and introducing an induction program for tenants through the video formats, which is what we do here, quite evidently. Because I think tenants are poorly educated about how to apply for a property, and then they get frustrated while they're still waiting as to why they haven't been approved. We're finding it in the high 90% plus of all applications received are missing driver's license, pay slips, references or something.
But even getting references from agencies as well, we're finding that it has slightly increased, but I did mention in the past that 9 out of 10 we're not getting rental references because agencies are not providing that information. So we're trying to find other ways where we can get this sort of information.
So you're saying 9 out of 10 agencies are not providing us references?
Correct,
So we're contacting the other agencies where they previously rented from, and the agencies are just simply not providing those references.
And we just get even feedback even by calling, going, we don't have time. Well, we all don't have time, but we still need to make time to be able to provide that information.
And therein lies the challenges of when you're in the peak season. we're busy. We understand other property managers are also busy.
Yeah.
There's an obligation that you are required to provide that reference of the tenant that's vacating out of that property.
Correct.
So we do the same. If we get a reference check coming our way from a tenant vacating one of our properties, we provide that reference
Yep.
as soon as possible, because we understand that process may prohibit that tenant getting the property if we don't do that. So, and it's a video we touched on many months ago about how interesting that is, about the number of tenants that are vacating our properties going to other managed properties with other agencies, and we're not getting requests for references from us. So it's a frightening thought to think of how many agencies are just simply shoving a tenant into a property without going through the appropriate checks. So busy or not, we don't cut corners, we still conduct that process. So any other numbers?
Just even with the advertising side of things as well, where we do premier advertisements on realestate.com and Domain, and obviously try to launch as many other websites as possible. And the stats that have come through as 75% of our inquiries, tenant inquiries, are coming from realestate.com. So it is very, very high. And then that just reflects on the advertising that we've got on that web portal as well. So we do premier advertisements, which is on the first page. And 80% of tenants will inquire based on viewing page 1 as well. So they won't look at any of the other pages, they only check the first page, and that obviously supports that.
Yeah. In addition to that, we've just recently launched we've launched our web page as well, simicestateagents.com.au. We're finding there's a very large number of volume of inquiries coming through that channel, and we expect that to increase as well. So that only got launched a matter of weeks ago. So we'll find those numbers will start to swing towards our direct website. So interesting stuff. We'll hand the baton straight over to sales on that note. Now, I mentioned about the inability for the Queensland Government or any government to broadcast any changes that may impact, I suppose, the real estate sector. The rental reforms is one of those. Another one that's sort of come under the radar in the sales world at the moment, which has already been released, which is a federal government initiative as opposed to state. It's the first home loan deposit scheme. So the federal government, it's there to support first home buyers and their ability to buy their first home. So we've had schemes over the many years that we've been in the industry that we've seen them come and go, such as stamp duty exemptions, first home buyer grants, all sorts of things like that. This latest initiative from the federal government is the federal government will guarantee your deposit. So in essence, you as a first home buyer will only need to provide a 5% deposit, and they will guarantee the other 15% or up to, which will also give you the ability as a first home buyer not to have or to save enough funds to get lender's mortgage insurance. Now that's generally a substantial amount of money. If you're borrowing more than 80%, you've got to get lender's mortgage insurance. And the combination of a full deposit being 20% and paying lender's mortgage insurance has had a pretty significant impact to first home buyers and their ability to save enough to then apply for a loan. Now you still have to go and get your finance through a lender. Not every lender falls under the scheme or is tied into the initiative by the federal government. So there are a select few. Do jump on the websites, go to Google, look it up. It is known as the first home loan deposit scheme.
Is there a cap with the amount?
There is some thresholds now. For a single person applying, you must be a first home buyer. It must be an owner-occupied property as well. It cannot be an investment property. You must be an Australian resident, and if you're a single person, your highest taxable income has to be at a maximum of $125,000 a year, or a couple at $200,000 per annum. Now, what they're effectively saying, if you're earning above those thresholds, you shouldn't be applying for this scheme. There are thresholds as well to the value of the properties in Queensland. It is capped in the capital city, in Brisbane or Brisbane city market at $475,000 purchase price. Outside in regional areas, it is capped at $400,000. So there are only 10,000 grants that are being released per financial year. The first lot or allocation has already been absorbed of 3,000. They're just about to release this month, the February edition, another 7,000 that'll take it to the 10,000 cap. So you have to apply to get it, and there are additional parameters and thresholds that you need to meet to be applicable. So do the research on it. We're not here to provide any financial advice, so all the research and information is there on the website to look through. But it will have some impact, we think, on the real estate sector. How much impact that's going to have within the inner east, being our median prices are above the property threshold, but it may just give that ability for that first home buyer to enter our market, which is if the dwelling can be an apartment, can be a townhouse and a house. Obviously, there are some challenges getting to a house per se, freestanding residential dwelling within those price points, but the ability to buy an apartment definitely falls under that umbrella. So guys, we hope you find the February edition of the Simic report useful and informative. If you have any questions regarding the earlier topics or the current topics for this month, feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, we look forward to touching base with you in March. We'll see you then.
Bye-bye.